If you've been watching my channel for a while and thinking to yourself, Chaz doesn't really do many controversial topics, hold my beer. Welcome back to the channel, Book Dragons. I'm really glad you're here with me today. I'm going to be talking about the difference between readers and reviewers, and I think this is an important topic to make and an important distinction to talk about, because as a booktuber, I do have book reviews on my channel from time to time for books that I've read. I recently had a situation where I got an email from a new author, a self-published author, wanting me to review their book. And I do get these from time to time, and I have accepted from time to time as well. This particular email had the subject line, "Read this." And then the email starts with, "I'm going to send you my book. What's your address?" That's basically the summation of the email. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. There wasn't a blurb, there wasn't a book cover or anything like that. It was just, "What's your address? I'm going to send you my book." I was honestly put off by that. And so that got me to thinking about what the expectations are for booktubers or book bloggers and things like that, and trying to help set down some clarity. Now, before we get into the topic, I do want to make something very clear. I completely support self-published authors in their goals to be recognized, to have their work seen and read. I understand the plight of self-published authors, that it is much harder to get their book seen by other people and promoted and do all the marketing that they have to do all themselves and figure out the best way to reach out to people, to do book review requests and things like that. I completely understand. I mean, I am a self-published author. I know, and I totally respect the struggle. So I just wanted to get that out there. This is not a video about me saying I don't want to read self-published books. I do. And I want to support self-published authors and indie published authors. But I do think that there is an underlying assumption that is sometimes out there that just because you have a platform and you do book reviews, that automatically means that you are a reviewer and that everybody should be reaching out to you to promote their books. And so I wanted to have a conversation about that because I see readers and reviewers as two separate things. So a reader, even if they do book reviews, is someone who loves to read and wants to talk with others about the books they're reading and share new books they've been reading and talk about whether they liked a book or they didn't like a book, or maybe it was kind of in between. Just kind of having that conversation about the books they're reading. So if a reader is on BookTube and they do book reviews, they're doing it as a hobby, and they're doing it because they love to read and they want to read more books. And they might occasionally take requests from self-published authors or from publishing companies. If a publishing company sends them a free copy of the book, said, "Hey, we'd like you to review this," they might be willing to do that because they love books and they love to read. But for them, it's a hobby. It's something that they're doing on the side to be able to talk with other people about books. Reviewers may still have a platform on YouTube to talk about books. A lot of them do. Or they might have a book blog, something like that. Or they might have both. And they have committed to taking on works from new authors, self-published authors. Maybe they're requesting arcs of new books from publishing companies for the purpose of reading and reviewing those books. And this is kind of like a little business for them. They want to be known in the industry as a book reviewer and someone that people can reach out to review books. Clarification, Chaz here. After talking with one of my friends who is a reviewer and has a lot of ARC reviews on her channel, I wanted to share some things that she shared with me that would be helpful for this section. The first of those is that usually you will see that booktuber talk about books that they have received that are ARCs from self-published authors, that they are constantly getting those. And the second thing is that they will usually have in the information on each of their videos and or in the information about their channel an email for business inquiries where you can send ARCs, and they will usually say please send any review requests and things like that to this email. So that was really helpful information that I wanted to share that I had not really thought about when I made this video. And so even though it might be slightly hobbyish for them as well, it's kind of more of a business. And both of those two categories are really important. Both have equal value and are an important part of the book community. But they are distinct, and I think it's really important to understand that distinction, to be able to separate in our minds the difference between the two. So you might be wondering what category I fit into. I am a reader, first and foremost. I happen to do book reviews on my channel, but I am not here for the purpose of reviewing books. I'm here for the purpose of reading. I have really good friends in the booktube community who are here for the purpose of reviewing books and helping new authors out. And that's great because that is their main focus. I'm just here as a hobby, as someone who loves to read. I still do get review requests. And I read through those review requests. I don't ignore them. I don't just delete them. I do take time out of my day to look at all of those requests. But most of those I don't accept. There's a few that I do. For instance, Philip Chase reached out to me with ARCs of his book and said, hey, would you like a free copy of my book in exchange for an honest review? And I already knew about Philip's books, and I was so excited. I was secretly hoping he would reach out to me because I really wanted to read his series. Chad Nicholas is another one. He reached out to me with a review request, and I wholeheartedly accepted because I had heard enough about him to know he is someone I need to read. And I have accepted a few other review requests as well. But for me, it's the exception rather than the rule. The majority of the books I read are traditionally published books or self-published books that have gotten so much exposure that it's become very clear that they are books that absolutely need to be read. And part of the reason for that is I don't have a lot of time to be reading. I work a full-time job. I have family stuff that I am involved with. And usually at the end of my workday, I'm cooking dinner and stuff like that. So life is constantly happening. And I've only got so much time during the day that I can read. And if I'm spending all my time on review requests for new authors, I'm not going to have time to get to the other books that I really want to read. But it is really important to me to read self-published books. I've got plenty of ways that I actively search for new books to read that I might enjoy. And I am never opposed to reading a self-published book. I want to make that very, very clear. As I said at the beginning, I do get lots of review requests in my email inbox. And that's great. I love that people reach out to me. I don't want people to stop reaching out to me necessarily. I just want to make it clear that I am a reader and not a reviewer. I just happen to do reviews. But at the end of the day, this is a hobby for me. It's not a job, and I don't want it to become a job. I really don't. I have a job. It pays the bills, and I like that. But this is what I enjoy. At the end of the day, I love being on BookTube, and I don't want that to stop. I don't want it to feel like another job just because I'm so bogged down with review requests. And so I made it clear to the author that I appreciated them reaching out to me and that I am not taking any new review requests for 2024, which I'm not. You can email me, but I won't be taking on any new books for 2024 that are ARC requests because I've got some major projects that I am heavily involved in 2024. There are a couple that I've already committed to back in 2023 that I'm going to be reading this year. But other than that, I just don't have the time this year. And so I let the person know that. And I also gave them some friendly advice, which I think is really important because in my mind, there is a certain etiquette when sending out review requests to book bloggers, booktubers, and the like. So here's what I told them. Don't automatically assume that the person you're reaching out to wants a copy of your book. So things like, I'm going to send you my book, what's your address? That's not the best approach. First of all, you might want to ask if they are willing to read your book. So the first part should probably say something like, I would like to send you my book for free in exchange for an honest review. Would you be okay with that? That will go over much better than, I'm going to send you my book, what's your address? Just wanted to lay that out there straight away. Secondly, the person that you're sending the review request to doesn't work for you. Now, I mean that in the nicest possible way, but they don't. And that's true of readers and reviewers. No matter which type of person they are, reader or reviewer, they don't work for you. And they have no obligation to read your book. So keep that in mind when you're sending the request. Another thing is, when you send the request, let them know what date your book releases or if it's already released, and ask them if they would be willing to read your book before that deadline. So if you're approaching it as, I need you to read this before this deadline, that's an assumption that that person is working for you, and they're not. That person may not have time to read your book within that time frame. If they are a reviewer, they may very well be able to do that because they've allotted time for things like that to come up so that they can have new books to talk about and things like that. Not necessarily so with a reader. A reader may already have plans for all the books that they're going to read in a given time period, whether it's a month or a quarter or whatever, and they may not be able to get to your book during that time. So just keep that in mind. Approach it as, I would appreciate it if you would do this versus I want you to do this or I'm telling you to do this. The final thing I would say, please include the book cover if you can. Because I don't know about everybody else, but I'm a book cover guy. I really like a good cover. So if the premise sounds interesting and the cover is cool, I'm probably a lot more likely to be willing to pick up the book and read it. Now, that's not guaranteed. Like I said, in my case, 2024 is out. I really don't have time other than books that I have already committed to or are already on my radar. I've already kind of got on my radar that if Philip Chase releases another book this year, which I've heard he has a standalone, I'm probably going to try and pick that up because I really, really enjoyed the Edan trilogy. Things like that are already kind of planned for, even though I might not be able to guarantee I can get to it in 2024. It's already kind of on my radar. So even if all the stars are aligned, you made your very personable, very professional request, you gave the blurb, you gave the book cover, you asked them to read your book before such and such a date, you've asked nicely, everything is aligned, that person that you are emailing the request to may still say no. And you may be disappointed by that, and that's understandable. I've sent requests before myself. I've been denied. Not everybody is going to say yes, but some people might say yes. You just never know. So keep putting yourself out there. Don't give up. I do want to encourage you not to give up. But just know that you're not always going to get a yes. Not everybody wants to read your book. Not everybody has time to read your book. So keep that in mind when you're sending out review requests. But your book is important to you, and just because somebody says no, someone else might say yes. Don't give up. Please don't give up. But if they do say no, replying back and saying, "Are you sure you won't consider?" probably isn't the best way to go about it. There's nothing stopping you. And they might give it a second thought and say, "Oh, you know what? Well, maybe I will take another look at it." But it's probably better if you get a no to just let it slide and move on. If you get a maybe, then yeah, maybe you can reach out to them again at some point and say, "Hey, do you think now is a good time to read my book?" There's professional ways to go about this and not so professional. And so that's why I wanted to have this discussion on etiquette with review requests and kind of help those of you out there who are new authors, self-published authors, or if you work for a publishing company that sends out ARC requests, just know that there are two different types. There's readers and reviewers. They can have similarities, but they're not always the same at all. And you might get a no, you might get a maybe, you might get a yes. I hope this has been helpful for you. I felt like it was important to make this video, so let me know in the comments what you think. Is this something you see as valuable to the book community, whether it be authors or reviewers, readers, booktubers, book bloggers? There's so many of us out there that are working together to make and read good books. And I hope this has been valuable. So, until next time, make sure you guys are reading more books, and I will talk to you soon. Cheers.